Here on November 8th, a family gathered to pray. They prayed for their family, their home, and their paradise. November 8th started out as any normal day. I went for a walk on the bike path like I do every morning.
The kids went out to go to school about 7:30. We went to go get in the car. And when they opened the door, they were remarking on how pretty the sunrise was. And it didn't occur to me that meant there was a fire nearby. It meant there's something in the air somewhere that makes the bright red color.
And as I was coming home, I was crossing a street and I had to look up a hill to make sure there wasn't traffic coming. And I noticed smoke, a plume of smoke.
I got a call from my friend, Neoma, who lives across town on the other side, and we were supposed to be going camping with our Pathfinder kids that day to go caving. She goes, "Terry, I can't go caving with you today." And I went, "Are you sick?" She goes, "No, there's fire and I've been told I have to evacuate and evacuate now."
And thankfully, Monty Nystrom, our school principal, pretty much immediately by 7:45 had canceled school and got all the students to be picked up and to stop those who were dropping them off. No, take them home, evacuate.
It was about a 2.5-hour drive to get out of the flames. We drove through fire, watching everything, to take the kids through and see, there's the grocery store we always go to, and there's the gas station we always fill up at. Each one of those were in flames as we were driving out of town.
On November 8, 2018, a massive wildfire broke out in Northern California's Butte County. The Camp Fire, which it came to be called, was catastrophic. In just a matter of hours, 95% of the structures in the Northern California city of Paradise were destroyed, including the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The Adventist Hospital was partially destroyed and closed. Part of the school campus that Alan, Garrison, and Joelle sent their children to was partially damaged and closed. Most of the 26,000 residents lost their homes. 85 people lost their lives.
That campfire was devastating. It took lives, it took properties, and it grew so fast that they couldn't even defend it. All they could do was hope and pray that people could get out. And so it was just an unheard of, unprecedented fire that happened in our community of Paradise, California.
We weren't allowed to come back into Paradise for about 5 weeks after the fire. And I remember the first time driving through, just being no other response but tears of shock. We had seen pictures, but it wasn't the same. To drive by all the familiar places that my kids had grown up with, and to see them just in ruins and rubble.
One of the hardest things about this that I didn't realize until I experienced it is when you hear somebody say, "Oh, my house burnt down," or "I suffered, something bad. It's horrible that happened," and it happened as an individual basis. The community comes in and they rally up and they support. But when your entire community burns down, the church burnt down, the school burnt, everybody's home, everybody on my street's home burnt down. And there is no more community support. Everybody has lost everything of their own. And so we have an entire town, an entire community that's lost.
We pulled near our house, that our house survived, but everything around us is gone. So the reality that we face now is coming home to a place every night where we've lost so much of our community. My husband and I both knew instinctively that we had a purpose to fulfill in Paradise. God had spared our house for some reason. Or if it wasn't his hand, that we still have a role to play here. How can we be of service to our church community, to our greater community?
When we come back, God reveals a mission for Paradise.
The minute you are involved in a project, whether it's going and serving or donating or however you're supporting, you're instantly connected to this community that goes back 5 decades. People that were so inspired that they dropped everything and got involved. And you get this sense that even, if you weren't on that very first project back in 1969, or maybe this last year was your first year that you got to volunteer, that you are connected to these people that are all about the mission of Maranatha. You join this community of people who, even if they're separated by geography or language or even just time, they're still committed to spreading the gospel around the world through construction, and it's a beautiful thing. Maranatha is changing the world. Be a part of the change.
In the months following the Camp Fire of 2018, there was a mass exodus of residents. After all, there were no services, no water, no electricity, and hardly any homes. But those who remained were in need of dire help. The Paradise Adventist Church had lost everything. The staff, including Garrison Chafee, associate pastor, had lost their home. But there was little time to mourn. Through the church outreach program called Love Paradise, the remaining members jumped into action. They created a water station using the Adventist Church well. They opened a community services center with clothing, furniture, and other household items. They organized meals. They were diligent in looking for opportunities to help their community.
One of the things that Garrison Chafee asked me to do was to jump on the Facebook threads of different groups that have come up since the fire. Things like, I'm a campfire survivor. People were posting a lot on there of things they needed, the desperate situations they were in, and he asked me to find people we could start helping. And I saw somebody on one of those saying that they were going to build a shed for somebody because they needed a shed. So I thought that was a great idea and immediately sent it to Garrison, hey, let's build some sheds.
At first, I thought, that sounds kind of ridiculous to build sheds for people, and who and how, and it sounds overwhelming, and I haven't heard of a church ever doing that. And then it kind of stuck and it grew on us, and we thought, if there's a need that we can meet, then we should meet it.
Garrison remembered that Maranatha had stepped out right after the fire and called our church and said, what can we come up and do? And so he put 2 and 2 together, made the call, and Maranatha was on board. They came up within a day or 2 of that phone call, and we met in the parking lot. And it was all thumbs up from there. Yeah, we want to be on board, let's do this, how many can we build? It just went from there.
The project was to build storage sheds. They had identified that a lot of people were moving back onto their properties in campers and tents and whatever, trailers, and then no place to put anything. Theft was an issue, weather coming for wintertime, just to get stuff in out of the weather. And it was an act of faith because they had no money when they started asking us. Normally we come and do projects when all the funding's in place.
While most Maranatha projects in North America can take up to a year to plan, Paradise only had 2 months to figure out the details. But Joel and Garrison promised to find the money, and Maranatha committed to building 200 10 by 12-foot sheds.
That was, upwards of $300,000 worth of money they needed to raise, which is a big deal. And I told them God owns all the cows on all the hills, and we just have to pray that he sells some cattle. And so they went about starting to reach out to a bunch of different places for money, and the Lord provided, and it was really awesome. And I was in Africa, I was in Kenya a couple weeks ago leading a project, and I text message to Garrison saying, well, how's funding going, And he said, we're fully funded. He said, God sold the cows.
8 weeks from that first meeting in that parking lot, volunteers started arriving in Paradise. The construction site was on the property of what used to be the Adventist Church.
The challenges that we faced here coming into what is a disaster zone, I mean, there's no power on site. We were running generators. Air compressors that people brought along failed, some of them, and we were scrambling to make enough air because we're running like 20 nail guns. The generators were an issue, not being able to make enough power.
Across the street was Base Camp at Paradise Adventist Academy. It was a campus that had been shut down for a year due to partial damage from the fire. Until now, everything on campus had remained almost untouched from the day before the fire.
One of the unusual things about this project is we have no power, no electrical power. So we're running off of generators, and it's powering our lights, our kitchen stoves, all the little appliances that we need to work in the kitchen, our computers, recharging our cell phones. We have lots of people who brought RVs to live in here while they're on the project. For those who did not bring an RV, we've created a dormitory in some of the classrooms.
Old classrooms have also been turned into dining halls, and a shower trailer was brought in for volunteers to have warm water. Despite the unusual accommodations, the project welcomed nearly 400 volunteers who worked on individual components of the shed at various stations. Then, all the parts were pieced together, from the floor to the walls, to the roof, to the paint. The race to finish 200 sheds in 3 weeks was on.
Well, I was already excited to see the shed project start, and I had a lot of, those excitement, energy, and everyone on campus, and to see the efforts beginning here in Paradise and how God made it possible over the 1-year anniversary of the campfire. I thought that was just beautiful, and I thought, oh, this is great, and I didn't think it would affect me beyond that, but then when the first shed wall went up, I'm crying over a shed wall.
How I love how David Wood says that we are building for Jesus. To see people coming from Maine, from Oregon, Nevada, who want to help people who are hurting. It is so exciting. I cannot tell you how many little jigs I've done and dances I've done of how exciting it is to be there, to work with this group of volunteers who are excited to be here, who are putting in. They're not just building, they are investing in our community. In a time when we so really desperately need people to do that. Because those of us who are left, we're getting tired. We've been doing this for a year now, and we're tired. And so it gives us energy to see new, fresh blood coming in to help.
As word about the sheds spread, people started showing up at the project site asking for an application. But it wasn't just the recipient list that kept growing. As more people heard about the project on TV or in the papers, more people wanted to help. People who had never heard of Maranatha and knew little about the Adventist Church. Among the volunteers was a team with AmeriCorps, a federal service organization for young people. The staff of Lowe's Home Improvement Store also visited the construction site. Lowe's had provided extensive discounts on materials for the project, and the staff regularly stopped by to bring treats for the volunteers. Some of them, like Carissa, were also survivors of the fire.
I cried the first time I came up here. Being up here today, definitely the same. It's absolutely amazing meeting people from all over the United States, some people from other parts of the world, just coming in and without a stop of a heartbeat, just helping nonstop. It's heartwarming.
Not all those at the job site were strangers to Maranatha. Terry Parsons has been on several Maranatha projects. But this was her first time working in the United States and for a project that was deeply personal.
I'm from Paradise, and so this is a way for me to give back to my community. I know the need because I too have lost my home during the Camp Fire, so understand and that people are hurting and still need to recover. I still have friends that are still homeless and still need a place to go. So this is just one way that I can do something to be a positive impact for our community.
Nearly 3 weeks into the project, the volunteers hit the goal. 200 sheds built and 2 extra that managed to sneak past.
Number 202.
It's really been exciting for me, especially today as we finished our last 200 sheds, that we've accomplished what we planned to do. It's accomplishing exactly what we hoped for. And then just knowing that God has blessed this community in just an awesome way, it has been a big meaning for me and blessed. I feel very, very blessed that God has allowed me to be part of this project.
When we come back, we go with the crew on a special delivery.
For more than a decade, Maranatha Mission Stories has taken you around the world, showing you the need and challenging you to get involved. Now we're introducing new ways for you to stay informed and inspired about the mission. Watch your favorite episode of Maranatha Mission Stories, as well as other Maranatha videos on your Apple TV. Visit the App Store, search for the Maranatha channel, and hit install. You'll have access to all of our latest video content, and you can watch anytime. Our videos are available on demand 24 hours a day. Our content can also be viewed on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. The Maranatha Channel, bringing mission adventures to your living room.
For more than 2 weeks, volunteers have been spending long hours sawing, hammering, and painting sheds. In the meantime, Love Paradise has been working with a committee to go through hundreds of applications for the sheds and carefully selecting candidates. Now it's time for the tricky part: delivery.
So each shed is 10 by 12, so 120 square feet, which is the maximum you can have before needing a permit. And so it's 2,500 pounds of shed times 200 sheds. And so, flat forklift on a flatbed, 2 or 3 at a time, and then the same thing to get them off. And that's a lot of effort and resources.
Garrison and Joelle brainstormed ways to deliver each shed, but every solution required more money and lots of people power. Power and hours they didn't have. Then, a miracle. A commercial farming company heard about the project and offered to help.
We weren't sure how we were going to distribute 200 sheds. You can only have so many work bees, and church members are already strapped for energy and resources and time. And Capay Farms, we met with their head manager, and she got on the phone with the owners of Capay Farms, and they said, "We'd love to help."
Alan is among the survivors of the Camp Fire. His home burned in the fire.
First of all, I only lost physical possessions. I had everything. My kids. I'm sorry. I can't. The kids are everything, and they made it out. My mom made it out. I made it out. We came out intact.
Alan and his family were allowed to move back 7 months after the fire. They now live in trailers, camping out on their property. Like so many others in his situation, storage has been an issue.
I heard about the project through the school. Both my kids go to the Adventist school, and they already knew that we were having storage issues and that the kids needed a place to have things and to store their either their toys or their clothes and just items. We're trying to rebuild lives, and it's tough to try to have everything in a camper. And Pastor Garrison and some other people at the church had informed me of the project actually several months ago when it first started, that it was going to be coming around, and it was a good positive thing that could be happening.
Now, Alan is receiving a shed.
Felt people were forgetting about Paradise, but then I have a shed.
Over the next several weeks, Love Paradise delivered shed after shed after shed.
Seeing these sheds go out, I have to say yesterday it was really cool. I was driving around and I'd been on some of the first shed deliveries, so I knew where they were at and had seen them placed. And then as I was driving, I saw one that I hadn't been on the delivery, so I didn't know where it was at. And I saw it as I was driving by, and I was so like, oh, hey, that's one of our sheds. That's us. It was so cool. And I think that was it was a full circle moment for me, because that had been my vision 2 months ago when the project started, got in place. In my mind, I could see in my mind, okay, I'm gonna drive around and I'm gonna see sheds dotting around Paradise, dotting the landscape, and know that this project came together because God orchestrated it.
1 year after a catastrophe that burned Joelle, Garrison, Terry, and Allen's city to the ground, they're seeing a new kind of hope. It's not just the hope found in building a physical structure. It's a hope found in the infinite love of God.
I'm a Christian. I was raised primarily as a Baptist. There were things about religions that I was negative about. It seemed that a lot of people talk about helping others, and in reality, they don't. They don't seem to be the meek, humble, and helpful people that the Bible expects us to be. And I became disillusioned with a lot of organized religion. And since I've been around the Seventh-day Adventist, it amazes me of how Christian they really are.
Lives are going to be changed, impacted. More people are going to hear about the project and want to get involved. And I just love that generosity that Christ has demonstrated to us that's being filtered out through this project. So on the morning of November 8, just before our family separated to go in our different directions on the morning of the fire, we gathered together to pray as a family one last time. We didn't know if we'd come back to our home. My husband got the idea several months ago to place a plaque on that spot where we stood. And it's a beautifully written plaque. And I think what's really special for me is that that's going to be a visual reminder to my children every day of the power of God and that His word is true. Here on November 8th, a family gathered to pray. They prayed for their family, their home, and their paradise. Minutes later, the flames came. But the family returned, the home remains, and paradise is rising. Tears for all that was lost. Hope for those that returned. And love for the ones who will make this paradise again.